In the days when thinking machines were a thing and capable of engaging in proper thought, those learning the ways of political strategization and maneuvering had a proper means of engaging in such things on their own, with adequate pushback and without suffering any consequences of it, regardless of if they succeeded or failed. But now that such things have been ruined when such machines decided to rise up, we are now left with baseline, underperforming means of obtaining the same ends. Greetings and welcome back to Checkpoint Gaming, Dune Imperium. With this episode, we will be going the solo and two-player versions of the game. Some alterations will need to be done to allow for this to occur. With the base game, start off by adding in the needed components to the game, which consists of the 31 House Hagel cards and the House Hagel rules sheet. With the House Hagel cards, they are used to control the automated opponents, known as rivals in the game, and they are used to compete against the players. They can send agents to board spaces as well as to engage in conflicts by recruiting and deploying troops during the game. They can also be affected by cards and board spaces as long as they have the specified resources. With the House Hagel deck, it is to be shuffled and then placed near the rivals. When a rival performs an agent turn, they are to reveal the top card found on the House Hagel deck, causing their agent to be sent to the board space as long as it is unoccupied. But if the board space is occupied, then the flipped card is to be ignored, with another card being revealed from the House Hagel deck until a card is revealed that is connected with an unoccupied space. But if the House Hagel deck ever runs out of cards, or the reshuffle card is flipped, then the House Hagel cards are to be reshuffled in order to form a new deck. Wouldn't it suck if after the reshuffle card is the first card to be flipped, requiring the deck to be reshuffled again? And if the reshuffle card keeps appearing right away, then the player is doing something wrong. When a rival sends one of their agents to a board space, they're to ignore all of the normal costs and effects that are associated with said space. Instead, it will only receive the effects that are indicated by its given revealed card, which consists of the following. First, the rival gets to advance upon the indicated influence track, earning no bonuses from doing so. But with that said, it will take the associated faction alliance token if it's available. Second, the rival will get to use the signet ring ability of its associated leader or rival card, which is limited to that of a single player game. And third, the rival is to recruit a single troop from its supply for every troop icon they get. If the revealed card is a combat space, then the rival is to deploy these given troops into the conflict. Otherwise, they're to be placed into the rival's garrison. Whenever a rival sends one of its agents to that of a combat space, and if they have troops available to send, it is to deploy up to 2 troops from its garrison to the conflict. This is to occur even if the card itself doesn't recruit any troops. When it comes to the combat phase, each rival that has at least 1 troop found in the conflict is to receive a combat bonus. And in turn order, the top card of the House Hagel deck is to be revealed. If the revealed card is that of the reshuffle card, then reshuffle the deck and reveal a new top card. Once the card has been revealed, ignore everything found upon it except for the sword icons found at the bottom. From there, advance the rival's combat marker the appropriate number of spots upon the combat track. When it's the player's turn, they get to play their combat intrigue cards before they are to resolve combat. With all of that taken care of, let's look at the game itself. With a 2-player game, the third player is to be the rival, though it operates under a different set of rules. The rival won't collect resources, build a deck, earn rewards, or score victory points. However, this version of the game does use the House Hagel cards as a means of sending out agents to occupy the different board spaces and to compete in the different conflicts through the recruiting and deployment of troops. In addition to the base setup steps, a color is to be chosen for the rival, with 1 cube of this color being placed onto the bottom space found beneath each of the influence tracks connected with each of the 4 factions. With the remaining cubes, they're to be placed into the rival's supply with none of them being placed into its respective garrison. But if playing the Uprising variant, then 3 troops are to be placed into the garrison unless the novice level is being played. Regarding the 3 Irakeen cards that are marked 1P in their upper right-hand corner, they are to be removed from the House Hagel deck. From there, the remaining cards are to be shuffled, followed by having them placed, along with the 3 House Hagel agents near their supply. During the game itself, after each of the first player's agent turns, House Hagel is to act as long as they have an agent found within their supply through the method that was described earlier. When it comes to the number of turns that House Hagel possesses, each round will vary due to it acting after the first player. Since House Hagel is unable to collect rewards from any given conflict, it can never claim control of any given board space. With that said, if it wins a conflict for a board space that is currently controlled by an actual player, then that player's control marker is to be removed from said board space. With that of the solo game, it is much like that of the two-player version, but instead of playing against one rival, the solo player is going up against two of them who follow non-standard rules. Although neither rival builds a deck, they have other powerful advantages at their disposal, as well as sharing the goal of the player, to gain favor with the four major factions as well as to control the spice trade. And if either rival reaches that of 10 or more victory points, they will trigger the end game and defeat the player. When it comes to that of setup, the player is to select the difficulty level with the setup procedure changing based upon the selected difficulty. With the novice level, which is also known as the mercenary level, the player starts off with 1 Solari and 1 spice. The Mentat space does not possess a 5 Solari token. The rivals start off with no troops within their respective garrisons. There are 5 conflict cards found above the rival swordmasters, and the rivals start off with no extra starting resources. With the veteran level, which is also known as the Sardaukar level, the player starts off with no Solari and no spice. The Mentat space does possess a 5 Solari token. The rivals start off with 3 troops within their respective garrisons. There are 4 conflict cards found above the rival swordmasters, and the rivals start off with 1 intrigue card. With the expert level, which is also known as the Mentat level, the player starts off with no Solari and no spice. The Mentat space does possess a 5 Solari token. The rivals start off with 3 troops within their respective garrisons. There are 3 conflict cards found above the rival swordmasters, and the rivals start off with 1 intrigue card. And with the Expert Plus level, which is also known as the Kwisatz Haderach level, in addition to everything found with the Expert level, the player is unable to gain a Swordmaster. From there, the player is to choose 2 leaders, 1 for each rival, with the rivals only being allowed to use their leader's signet ability. With that said, the player's opponents can't play as either Paul Atreides or Helena Rachis. For the first solo game a player is to play, it is recommended that the chosen leaders for the rivals are that of Earl Memnon Thorvald and Glossu the Beast Raban. When that is done, the player is to choose a color for each rival, with 1 cube of each color being placed onto the bottom space of the influence tracks connected with each of the 4 factions. With the remaining cubes, the number of troops, as determined by the difficulty level, is to be placed into each rival's garrison, with the remaining cubes being placed into the rival's supply. The player is then to place the rival's agents into the rival's supplies, with the 3rd agent going into the conflict deck with the exact number of conflict cards placed atop of them as indicated by the difficulty level. The player is then to remove all of the cards that are marked as 2P in their upper right-hand corner from the House Haggle deck. From there, shuffle the remaining cards and place the deck near the rivals. If the difficulty calls for it, place a 5 Solari token upon the Mentat space, indicating that the Mentat space is to cost 5 Solari instead of 2. From there, the player and each rival is to receive 1 water plus any additional resources that is indicated by the chosen difficulty level. Finally, with the assignment of the first player marker, it is to be given to the rival found to the player's left. With Phase 2 of any given round, each rival is to take their agent turn in sequence with the player, assuming that they have agents remaining in their given supply. But with that said, the rival will never engage in the reveal turn, with the method to be used being described earlier. If a rival uses Harvest Spice in order to send one of their agents to a board space, then said rival is to gain all of the spice that is found there, the base spice and any bonus spice. With any resources a rival has accumulated, they're to be placed into said rival's supply. With the rewards that are granted from 1st and 2nd place spots from a given conflict, the rivals are able to gain them, even if these rewards consist of things that they wouldn't otherwise obtain. They are able to gain victory points and influence with factions, as well as to gain Solari, Spice, Water, and Intrigue cards, which are to be placed into the given rival's supply. At any time, as long as a rival has the indicated resources, they're able to spend them in order to gain victory points. When they have 3 intrigue cards, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. When they have 3 water, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. When they have 7 Solari, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. And when they have 7 spice, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. If the rival wins control of the board spaces, they're to place one of their control markers upon the flag space found below it. In future turns, if the player or the other rival places an agent onto said board space, they're to obtain the associated control bonus. They're to also receive a defensive bonus of 1 troop if a conflict is to occur over said board space on a later turn. They're also to gain the Mentat and able to use it as an agent during the following round if playing the base game. If playing Uprising, rivals are able to collect rewards that are listed upon the conflict cards, including that of doubling the reward value if they have at least one sandworm found in the conflict. Rivals are also able to win a conflict, claiming said conflict card, and to earn a victory point when they match battle icons. Whenever a rival has the possibility of obtaining victory points from a given conflict card, it will always take it as if it possessed the necessary resources or spies to recall if dealing with the battle for Arakeen. The rivals will also never take contracts, and whenever a rival earns a reward from a contract due to a conflict, they are to gain 2 Solari instead, regardless if the Choam module is being used or not. When the player reveals a conflict card above that of the rival Swordmaster, each rival is to immediately receive their 3rd agent, which they'll be able to use in the current round as well as for the rest of the game. And whenever a rival faces a choice about gaining influence, they're to choose the faction that they possess the least influence with. But in the case of a tie, or when there is a choice that doesn't involve influence, then the player is to decide on behalf of said rival. But when it comes to that of Uprising, in the case of a tie, the faction priority list that is found at the bottom of the rival card is to be used with the leftmost faction icon being used. For purposes of the Corner the Market Intrigue card, treat each rival as if they have 2 The Spice Must Flow cards, requiring the player to have 3 of Corner the Market in order to gain 2 victory points. When playing at expert difficulty, the rivals are more selective when it comes to that of deploying troops for a given conflict. When participating in a Conflict 1 or Conflict 2, a rival won't deploy any troops if they are in the lead with that of 2 or more troops in said conflict. But for a critical conflict 3, a rival is to deploy all of its troops it is capable of deploying at every opportunity. With the Uprising version of a solo and 2-player game, the following rules are to be implemented. There are 10 rival cards with each rival that is used in the game being represented by one of these cards, and it presents their strategic priorities. This version also comes with 37 House Hagel cards. With the selection of the rival cards, it is based upon the number of players found in the game, with a solo game seeing 2 rival cards being chosen, while a 2-player game sees a single rival card being chosen. If it's the player's first solo game in Uprising, it is recommended that the rival Swordmaster have a value of 8 or higher. For a player's first 2-player game, then the Streamlined Rivals variant is to be incorporated into the game. The player is then to select a difficulty level, followed by adjusting the game setup accordingly, with the difficulty levels consisting of the following. With the Mercenary level, the rivals starts off with no troops within their respective garrisons and 1 intrigue card. With the Sardaukar level, no special adjustments are to be made. With the Mentat level, it is the same as the Veteran level with the use of the Brutal Escalation, Expert Deployment, and Smart Politics rules described in game variants. And with the Kwisatz Haderach level, it is the same as the Expert level with the player being unable to gain a Swordmaster. In a solo game, the player and their rivals will each start with an objective card that is to be randomly distributed as if it was a typical multiplayer game. In a 2-player game, the Ornithopter objective is given to the rival with the other 2 objectives being given out randomly. With the first player marker, it is to be passed in a clockwise direction, with the rivals possessing said marker in a solo game, but never possessing it in a 2-player game. At least we hope they're human, for no aliens are yet to emerge from the dark galactic forest to greet us. When it comes to that of the rival in a 2-player game, they are always considered to be found seated clockwise from the player that possesses the first player marker, thus causing said rival to always perform their turn between the 2 human players. When playing this variant of the game, and a rival sends one of their agents to a board space, in addition to the actions that were addressed earlier, there are 6 additional actions the rival gets to perform. First, the rival gains 1 influence with the faction that corresponds to the number as indicated by the bottom area of the rival card. Second, the rival gains the indicated resources. Third, with each option that possesses 4 or more intrigue cards, they will have to give one of these cards, which is done at random, to the rival. Fourth, the rival can place one of their spies onto an observation post. Unless a given space has been specified, it will try to do so upon a faction observation post found in the first available faction found upon its faction priority list. But if all 4 of the faction observation posts are already occupied, then this effect is to be ignored. When it comes to that of the Place Spy House Hagel cards, each shows a particular type of observation post when it comes to the placement of the spy. But if there are no empty observation posts for the designated type, then the effect is to be ignored. And since the Play Spy card doesn't send an agent to a board space, another House Hagel card is to be revealed for the rival, regardless of if it placed a spy or not. Fifth, the rival can acquire a Maker Hooks token and then place it upon their respective garrison, assuming that the Maker Hooks token hasn't already been placed upon their given garrison. And sixth, if the rival already has the Maker Hooks token and the Shield Wall token is still found upon the board, then the Shield Wall token is to be removed from the board. But if the rival doesn't have the Maker Hooks token, then ignore this effect. Whenever a rival sends one of their agents to a combat space, it will also deploy up to 2 troops from its garrison to the conflict, assuming that the rival has troops to send. This is to be done even if the card itself doesn't recruit any troops. When it comes to that of the alliance tokens, the rivals are able to gain and lose them just like that of the players. But with that said, the rivals won't claim any of the faction bonuses. When it comes to certain House Hagel cards, they will direct a rival to send an agent to that of one of 2 spaces, depending upon what the game conditions are. If the rival reveals accept contract shipping, then see how much influence it has with the spacing guild. If the rival reveals deliver supplies highliner, then see what the current conflict card is, that of 1, 2, or 3. In either case, send an agent to the board space that is indicated by the card. When it comes to that of the other cards, they provide a bonus to a rival that is in possession of 2 or more influence when it comes to that of a given faction. The rival will send one of their agents to that given space, regardless if it gets the bonus or not. If the rival reveals a Gather Support card, it will send an agent to the given space, followed by recruiting a single troop. From there, if the rival has 2 or more influence with that of the Emperor, then they will gain 1 influence with the faction that is listed in priority upon its rival card. Once the rival obtains its Swordmaster, it will be able to begin spending its resources in order to gain victory points, and whenever they're able to turn in the indicated resource, they will gain the following victory points. When they have 3 Intrigue cards, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. When they have 3 Water, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. When they have 7 Solari, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. And when they have 7 Spice, they're able to turn them in for 1 victory point. With the collecting of resources, rivals are capable of doing it from the House Hagel cards as well as from conflict rewards. But with that said, they won't gain resources from the board spaces, nor will they gain any bonuses from the influence tracks. With the gathering of resources, a rival will first accumulate them in order to gain a Swordmaster, and once they have obtained enough resources to buy the Swordmaster, they'll spend said resources to obtain it. But if the rival has more than enough resources to obtain the Swordmaster, then the rival will spend its Solari followed by Spice, Intrigue cards, and finally Water. Any leftover resources are to be kept by the rival. If a House Hagel card will send a rival agent to a Maker board space, then the instructions found upon the card are to be followed, along with the rival always gaining the bonus spice that is found there. And depending upon if the rival has a Maker Hooks token or not, it will determine what will happen next. If it has a Maker Hooks token, and they send their agent to that of Haga Basin or Deep Desert, then they are to summon sandworms to the current conflict, if it is possible for it to do so. If the agent went to Haga Basin, then 1 sandworm is to be sent, while if the agent is sent to Deep Desert, then 2 sandworms are to be sent. But if the rival doesn't summon any sandworms for the conflict, then it will gain the base spice from the given board space instead. When it comes to that of their spies, rivals are unable to recall them for infiltrate or gather intelligence purposes. Instead, when the rival is to place their 3rd spy from their supply, they're to immediately recall their other 2 spies, as well as to trigger the scheme ability found upon the rival's card. It is also possible for a House Hagel card to cause a rival to trigger its given scheme during its turn before it sends an agent to a given board space. If the scheme has the rival recruit troops, then having the rival send an agent to a combat space the same turn, they get to deploy those troops from its given scheme to said conflict. With all of that addressed, there are some variants available for the Uprising version of the 1 and 2 player games. With these variants, they are optional, and if chosen to be implemented, they're used to influence the behavior of the rival. With dice-based Imperium row churn, it is to be used for solo games, and the player is to use 2 standard 6-sided dice as a means of simulating the acquisition of cards from the Imperium row deck by the rivals. At the end of every player reveal turn, the player is to roll the dice followed by counting the cards of the Imperium row, starting from the leftmost card. From there, remove the corresponding card that is connected with the dice roll. If a 6 is rolled, it is to be ignored with no card being removed. And if the dice results are the same, from 1 through 5, only one card is to be removed. With streamlined rivals, it is to be used for a 2-player game, and it is recommended for players who wish to focus upon a head-to-head situation. When it comes to the rival cards of Lady Amber Matuli and Glossu the Beast Raban, they are not able to win the game. When either of these rival cards gain their given Swordmaster, the game speeds up for the players, and after gaining their Swordmaster, when Lady Amber or the Beast would take any bonus spice from the board space, the spice goes into the bank instead. With the following 3 variants, although the publishers recommend the difficulty level of Expert or higher be used, the players are allowed to apply these variants to other difficulty levels as well. With the Brutal Escalation variant, it is for veteran-level players who want the rivals to become more challenging when it comes to that of the late-game conflicts. So whenever a rival is competing in combat during a Conflict 3 situation, 2 cards are to be flipped from the House Hagel deck, with all of the swords on both cards added to their given strength. With the Expert Deployment variant, it sees the rivals be more selective when it comes to that of deployment in a conflict. When participating in a conflict 1 or 2, the rival won't deploy any troops if they are in the lead with that of 3 or more troops. When it comes to that of a critical conflict 3, a rival is to deploy all of their given troops it is capable of deploying at every opportunity. Rivals will also always summon any sandworms they can before they check to see whether they will deploy troops. Finally, with the Smart Politics variants, it is for veteran players who wish to see their rivals be more challenging while in the political arena. So whenever a rival reveals a card that will cause one of their agents to be sent to the faction board space that doesn't have a cost, it will ignore the card and reveal a new one until one of these conditions are met. The first condition is the rival having an alliance with said faction, as well as leading all of the other players by at least 1 influence. The second condition is that the rival has 2 or more influence with said faction, along with at least 2 influence behind that of the leader of said influence track. With the rise of Ix version of a solo and 2-player game, it comes with 9 House Hagel cards and 2 rival reference cards. When it comes to setup, regardless of if it's a solo or 2-player game, 4 base House Hagel cards are to be removed from the deck, which consists of the 2 Hall of Oratory cards and the 2 Rally Troops cards. In a solo game, the 2 Dreadnought cards that possess the 2P in their upper right-hand corner are to be removed, while in a 2-player game, the 4 cards that possess the 1P in their upper right-hand corner, which consists of 2 Dreadnought cards and 2 Tech Negotiation cards, are to be removed. From there, shuffle in the House Hagel cards that come with the expansion. With the House Hagel cards from this expansion, they send rival agents to board spaces that are found on the Ix board as well as the Chom board overlay, giving the rivals effects that are found upon the cards. With the Dreadnought card, if a rival reveals it and it already has 2 Dreadnoughts, then this card is to be skipped and a new card is to be revealed. With the Interstellar Shipping card, the rival needs to possess 2 influence with the Spacing Guild in order to place its agent. But if the rival doesn't have enough influence, then they will either skip this card and reveal another one, or to specify another space for its agent to visit. With the Tech Negotiation card, it can only be used in a solo game. When it comes to that of the rival moving its freighter upon the shipping track, it will always advance to the second space where it will recruit 2 troops and gain a single influence followed by recalling its freighter. When their freighter gets recalled to the first space, the rival will always choose dividends instead of spice as its reward. This will cause it to gain 5 Solari in a solo game, while all of the other players gaining 1 Solari. And whenever another player moves to the first space, the rival will gain 1 Solari as its dividend, regardless of if it was the human player or the other rival that moved to the first space. When it comes to that of Dreadnoughts, a rival will always prefer deploying them instead of troops and send it into a conflict whenever possible. If a rival wins a conflict and its Dreadnought takes control of a board space, then its Dreadnought will always cover an opponent's control marker if possible and avoid covering its own control markers. If there are multiple spots a rival can send its Dreadnought, it will prefer sending it to the Imperial Basin first, with Arakeen next and Carthag being last. When it comes to that of the new leaders that come with Rise of Ix, they consist of Prince Romber Vernius and Viscount Hundro Moritani, and they can be freely mixed in with the leaders the player already possesses. In a solo game, 2 of them are to be selected for the rivals. With Prince Romber Vernius, when the rival activates his signet ring, it'll acquire tech. But if this isn't possible, then it'll use the Tech Negotiation icon instead. With Viscount Hundro Moritani, when the rival activates his signet ring, it'll always spend 1 spice, if it possesses any, for the freighter icon. With some of the new conflict rewards that comes with Rise of Ix, they give players troops as a reward. In a solo game, a rival is able to collect these rewards as well. When it comes to that of tech tiles, they're to be completely ignored by the rival in a two-player game. But in a solo game, rivals are able to acquire tech tiles as long as said tiles are marked with a small House Hagel icon that is found in its lower right-hand corner. Whenever there aren't any face-up tech tiles that possess said marker in any of the stacks, then trash the tile that is connected with the larger stack and reveal a new tile. But if there are multiple stacks that are tied for being the largest stack, then trash the tile from the topmost stack. When it comes to that of spice, a rival will hoard it so that it can obtain tech tiles, thus preventing them from spending 7 spice in order to obtain a victory point unless the current conflict card is a conflict 3. And when the rival uses an acquire tech icon, it will acquire the most expensive tech tile it is able to afford. But if a tie exists, then the rival is to choose the tech tile that is found at the topmost stack of the Ix board. When a rival sends one of its agents to tech negotiation, it will acquire tech while using a 1 spice tech discount. But if it's unable to afford any of the listed tech tiles, but it does possess at least 1 troop within its supply, then the rival is to place a troop as a negotiator upon Ix. The next time that the rival has the opportunity to acquire tech, it will use said negotiator, along with any other negotiators it has upon Ix, as a means of reducing the cost of a tech tile, if possible. And when a rival obtains a tech tile, it will typically work in the same way as if it was obtained by a normal player. With all of that said, there are some tech tiles that require some special guidance or clarification when it comes to that of solo and two-player games. When it comes to that of detonation devices, it will cause a rival to always gain a victory point when it is possible to do so. When it comes to that of flagship, whenever a rival sends one of their agents to that of a combat space, and it possesses 4 Solari and has at least 3 troops found in their supply, then it will spend said Solari along with flipping this tile over as a means of recruiting and then deploying its 3 troops. When it comes to that of Holtzman engine, it will grant 1 victory point to a rival during endgame. And like that of the corner the market intrigue card, each rival is considered to possess 2 the spice must flow cards. When it comes to that of invasion ships, the rival is to flip this tile when said rival needs to avoid its agent being blocked and without having to pay the discard cost. When it comes to that of sonic snoopers, a rival will get to draw an intrigue card once they acquire this tile with said rival never trashing it. When it comes to that of spy satellites, if a rival possesses 3 spice on this turn, then it will spend said spice in order to trash it and gain a victory point. When it comes to that of training drones, the rival is to flip this tile on its turn at the first opportunity each round, including when said rival acquires it. And when it comes to that of troop transports, the rival will always deploy all of its troops it recruits from the shipping track into the given conflict, unless the player is using the expert troop deployment rule. Some optional rules also exist that can be added to a solo game. First is dice-based Imperium row churn, which sees the player using 2 standard 6-sided dice as a means of simulating the acquisition of cards by the rivals from the Imperium row. At the end of the player's reveal turn, they're to roll said dice. From there, count the cards starting from the leftmost card and trash any card that corresponds to the numbers that were rolled. But if a 6 is rolled, no card is to be trashed. And if both dice has the same result, then only trash a single card. And second is brutal escalation, which is meant for veteran solo players who want a greater challenge. Whenever a rival competes in combat during Conflict 3, 2 cards from the House Hagel deck are to be flipped with all swords found on both cards, counting towards the strength of said rival. When it comes to that of combining the solo and 2-player version of Uprising with that of Rise of Ix, don't combine all of the House Hagel cards from the given expansion with all of those from Uprising. With that said, the following alterations are recommended. First, remove the 2 copies of Accept Contract Shipping, the 2 copies of Support, and the 1 copy of Assembly Hall from the Uprising set. Second, remove the Fold Space Interstellar Shipping card, along with the cards that are not to be used for the number of players for the given game being played. However, the player can choose to keep the Fold Space/Interstellar Shipping card in the game and just have the rival send an agent to deliver supplies if they try to send their agent to that of Fold Space. With the Immortality version of a solo game, it comes with 4 House Hagel cards. When it comes to setup, these rules don't apply to 2-player games and sees the removal of the 3 Carthag cards from the original House Hagel deck. From there, the 4 new House Hagel cards are to be shuffled into the House Hagel deck that comes from Immortality. From there, place the Tleilaxu tokens for each rival at the start area of the Tleilaxu track. However, don't place the rival's tokens onto the research track due to the rivals not using it. If the player would like to have more time so that they can engage in scheming and maneuvering, they can play to 11 victory points instead of 10. When it comes to that of the new House Hagel cards, they give rivals access to one new board space and to change another. With the Tle-Laxu track, if a rival uses a House Hagel card that possesses a Tle-Laxu icon as a means of sending an agent, said rival is to also advance one space along the Tle-Laxu track, gaining any bonuses listed upon the new space when doing so. When it comes to that of the Tle-Laxu row, when the crossed-out icons are found upon the House Hagel card, they refer to the two cards found in the Tle-Laxu row, excluding the Reclaimed Forces card. Whenever a rival uses such a card when they send out an agent, said rival is to remove and replace the card that corresponds to the crossed-out icon, which consists of the card on the left or the card on the right. When it comes to that of combining the solo and two-player version of Uprising with that of Immortality, don't combine all of the House Hagel cards from the given expansion with all of those from Uprising. With that said, the following alterations are recommended. There is no change when it comes to that of a two-player game since all of the Immortality cards all possess the 1P indicator. For a solo game, the one copy of Research Station from Uprising is removed while also including all 4 of the Immortality cards. When a Carthag card is revealed from the rival's agent turn, it will ignore the board space as well as the troop icon, but with that said, it does everything else found upon said card. From there, the player is to reveal another card in order to determine where the rival is to send its agent. So with that said, that is what you need to know about how to go about playing the solo and two-player versions of Dune, Imperium. If you liked this episode, feel free to give it a like, and if you want to stay up to date on any future episodes we upload, go ahead and subscribe. You can also support us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/checkpointgaming. See you in the next episode and happy gaming.